sister sit and store what I'm about to preach on. Damn, sister, close the door. Watch what you step out on. I said, hey, sister, so before you become a sin, I said, hey, sister, there is more, even if you think there isn't. When you live your life day to day, there will always be obstacles in your way. But don't let that get you down, girl.
Hello, happy Saturday to everyone. This is day 13, and I am joined by my lovely sister, Rocio.
You said it perfectly.
I said it earlier today. I love your name. I don't know. It's different. Like, I also have to remember that there's no A at the end.
No, it's with an O. Yeah, everybody always feels like they want to put the Rocio, but it's Rocio. Yeah, it's with
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, do you mind telling everyone what it means? Because I know you shared that before.
Yeah, so it means morning dew in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Argentina, so it's a common name in Argentina, but here I think I've met like one Rocio in my life in Canada. Yeah.
Now, are you from like Buenos Aires, Argentina, or like outside?
No, I'm from Rocio. It's like 4 hours north of Buenos Aires.
Okay, so you don't do the thing when you speak.
Yeah,
you do that too? Oh my gosh, that was as I was learning Spanish. I had this one friend from Buenos Aires, and I couldn't understand what she was saying in Spanish, but I understood everything in English, and I was totally thrown by it. And then our friend from the Dominican Republic pointed it out, and I was like, no, that makes sense.
We all, like Latin America, we're also, I guess you would say it's a dialect.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way we speak, everybody's different. Like from every country, we're all speaking. But Argentinians, we're known for, like, we get made fun of for the way we speak by all the other Latin American countries.
Yeah. It stands out. You know? And let me see here. I hope, can somebody who's watching us shoot me a message in the comments and let us know if it's crackling? Is it coming through all crackly? Can you hear it, Rocio? Yeah, we were chatting backstage and we had no issues. What's that about?
I wonder, do you think it's it's when you speak.
Yeah.
Are you hearing it when I speak?
No, only when I speak. All right, well, let's see how this goes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, is it like really like harsh? Because I'm wearing headphones, so it sounds really bad.
I'm hearing it like pretty strongly on my end here too.
Okay.
But it's only when you're speaking.
All right, so tell you what, pause for 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay.
There you are. Is it gone now?
No.
Oh,
there. Yeah. Let me see you say something.
Saying something and testing out the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. All right.
It's a little bit, but it's not as bad.
All right. So I'm just gonna not move. We haven't had this for like the past few days. Let's see. Is that it? Is that what it is?
My phone.
I don't know. Okay. Well, we'll keep going and we'll see. So guys, if you can comment and just let us know.
Yeah, it is.
I guess right. Yeah.
Do you want me to try to go onto my computer?
Well, let's try and let's see if we can do that. Technology, people.
So I'm leaving. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah. No problem. Yes, this is what technology does. Oh, look, see, no more crackling. We are rolling with the punches. Yes, we are. We are going with the flow. This is what we do. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting us know that you can hear us both. For some reason, it's like popcorn between the two of us. Like we could barely actually hear each other properly. So that helps. Thanks for letting me know. I am here with my sister Rocio, and we're going to be talking today about her story, things that she's been through, things that she wants to open up and share with us. Also, her perspective on our themes for this year. That is vision, voice, version, and victory. And we've been talking with, thank you very much. Thanks for letting us know. We've been talking with our sisters all month long because this is Women's HERstory Month, and we are taking the entire month. But just as Rocio and I were talking before backstage, it's important that we create these forums where we can have meaningful conversation. You know, I don't know if you guys know this, but like back in the day, you would have these like the room for the women. And the expectation was that all of what was happening in this room was just gossip and, you know, frivolous conversation. You know, that was the place for this to happen. And honestly, I think maybe those women were having some really serious conversations, right? That's how we ended up with the women's suffrage movement. But I think that for us as women to be able to come together and to create opportunities to have real conversations, that is important. This is where we are empowered. This is where we can tap into, you know, our strength as a community and be able to share our wisdom with one another. You know, when these conversations are held as taboo, when they're restricted, when there's no challenge to our thinking, no challenge to old cultures and old ways of doing things, then there's a stagnation that occurs. And so we may want to change some of the pervasive systems and things that we see out there, but that change has to start somewhere, you know? And if you listen to Michael Jackson, it starts with the woman in the mirror, right? So this space is HERstory space, and these conversations that we're having all month long, this is really just about making sure that we are here bringing the reality of life to light and sharing the stage with as many of our visionary women as possible. I think one of the big themes coming out so far this month has been, it's not a straight line. You know, I don't think any one of us has experienced this, you know, wake up in the morning when you're young, and then all of a sudden everything just falls in line. Everything is perfect. You know, your parents did all of the right things. Your parents were perfect. Their generation before them was perfect and everything was laid out. I don't think we've had a single one of those stories. And sometimes the expectation is, while we're going through a tough moment, that, oh, well, that other person, she must have had it so much easier. You know, that other person, her life must have been so great. You know, she must have had all the right people in all the right places at all the right times. And that's not necessarily true. And so we are sharing not just the results that other people can notice and see on the outside of our lives, but the journeys that we've been through and the process that we've been through. And sure, we could talk about some of these things. We could even laugh at some of these things right now, and you know, because now we're talking about it in past tense. But some of these situations were not very funny when we were going through them. You know, these were really tough, difficult situations for us to just keep moving through. And so we want to be able to glean from this wisdom and continue learning from one another. All right, I'm going to bring back in Rocio. Let's see how this works. All right.
Okay, new location.
And I can hear you, and I don't hear any crackling. There we go. Awesome.
Perfect. Okay, so it's probably my phone. Sorry about that, everyone.
No worries. Now, they were saying that they could hear us, but it was definitely clearer afterwards. So, you know, and that's what it's all about, right? We do this every day. We roll with punches every day.
Well, what was your, I was going to say, what was your affirmation today? It was like, go with the flow or something, wasn't it?
It was, I am flexible. That's so true. That is so true. And you know what? Like, even the ability to do that, that was foreign to me. Like in my natural, you know, that would have been very foreign to me, to be like, I was like, oh no, the world is ending. Something didn't go the way how I planned it, you know?
Yeah. Gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Gotta let it go.
Oh my dear. So please share with us. Tell us a little bit about you and who you are, what you do.
So let's start from the beginning. I was like, how am I going to, share a little bit about myself? So I was born in Argentina, and I came to Canada with my mom when I was really young. I was a baby. So I was raised in Toronto, and then grew up here, got into social work after high school, because I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to help people. My mom is a nurse. My mom raised me single mom, so I was always wanting to, help people and do something that would empower people. So I got into social work, and then things happened 10 years later down the road of social work. I ended up quitting my social work job at the time and flying to Indonesia to go get my 200-hour YTT, my yoga teacher training. And then this is where I am now. So I've been certified since 2017. And then COVID happened. So I went from, as every fitness instructor, yoga instructor, I was teaching at a bunch of studios. And then when we shut down, it was kind of like, what are we doing now? How is this going to look? So most of my studios, we went online, we were teaching. And then unfortunately, 2 of the studios I was teaching at have permanently shut down now because of COVID. With small businesses, it's been really difficult. So then I had to pivot into, what am I going to do now for myself, and how am I going to move forward as an instructor? And so now I'm teaching classes online. So basically I started my online yoga studio, Soul Yoga. And that's slowly growing, but it's been a beautiful journey, because it really pushed me into the next level of entrepreneurship and learning all these things that I guess I was hesitant to learn, like the admin stuff, the back end stuff of running a yoga studio. But it's been a beautiful journey. Like, I love that I've learned that, and I love that now I'm building a community and having to put that work in. So it's been rewarding. So it's been bittersweet. COVID has pushed me to do a lot of things that I never would have done if it wasn't for it. So
yeah. Isn't that something though? Like, for so many of us, we've experienced COVID, the pandemic, etc., in different ways. But for many of us as entrepreneurs, COVID has been a time of tremendous growth. We have done so many things in a short space of time that are completely new, things that we would not have dreamt of before. And it's really expanding us. And you sound like you're welcoming that expansion.
Well, like you said, we have to go with it. We have to be flexible. Yeah. And I think you either in life, you can say, oh no, like all these horrible things happened, or you say, okay, like, how am I learning from this? How am I going to move forward now? Mm-hmm. And finding the silver linings in everything. Like, even now with, going online, in the beginning, it was like, oh, I have to teach online. I'm not in studio. I'm not with my students. And yes, I miss being live with people, but the accessibility that online has given, like right now, even having this interview with you, would this have happened last, 2 years ago, 2019?
Probably wouldn't even have thought of it.
Yeah. Exactly. And here we are, so yeah.
And it's brought the world to our fingertips in new ways. And it's funny because all of these options were already there, right? Like, for example, birthday parties happening on Zoom. We had some family birthday parties, and now we have people from different countries, all playing games and everything together. And we're like, we could have done this with, like, I don't know, Skype, Zoom, anything years ago. We just never thought of it. You just send the invitations to the people that you expect will show up in person. Who knew?
It just really expanded our communities, really. I think that's what technology, and like you're saying, we've always had it, but this like forced us to really be like, okay, we're moving into like a different way of doing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like now we are able to prioritize connection and community, having had it taken from us in the way that we were accustomed to it. Now our hunger as humans for that interpersonal connection, it's driving us to be more clever with the way how we use the technology and the tools that were already there and the new ones that are creeping up all over the place, you know? But yes.
And it also taught us to value connection. I think that's the irony of COVID is we realized like, wow, I really love my community. I love my family, my friends, like I miss them. So I think we were really on autopilot for so long. Like I know for me, I can speak for myself. I was go all day, every day, working from the morning until the night. I was teaching all day long. I wasn't making time. And then when something's taken away, you're like, wait a minute, what really matters? It made me be like, what really matters? What is of value to me? Is it working and working and working, or doing all these things, or buying all these things that I, you know, do I need all those things? I need my people. I need my tribe.
And the doing, I think that's a big piece, because sometimes we get caught up in the activity and we think that because we are busy that we're impactful. And what did somebody say? There's a difference between activity and production, you know? And sometimes we get so caught up in the activity. I mean, one thing all this online living has done for us is cut down commuting time. You know? You know, no, it doesn't take 20-30 minutes between one event to the next event. And, you know, and so much more is happening in a short space of time. But with that, you know, now we're realizing, okay, well, I can now take decisions to prioritize myself. I can take decisions to prioritize, you know, different parts of my life, you know, and create space for ourselves in all of the doing now, you know?
We're more aware now, I would say, right? We're so much more aware.
It's so true. It's so true.
Nice.
Now, you talked about, you know, your journey being born elsewhere, coming to Canada. You talked about your entrepreneurship and how that is developing and growing, and, you know, just being a woman in the world, right? Like there's so many different things that we traverse in any given day. Tell me, in all of this growing and experience and moving and expanding that you're experiencing, in your opinion, what would you say is the importance of vision?
So I love this question, and it's such a complex question. I think for me, my vision, the more I'm clear on my vision, which I had to do when COVID happened, I had to be like, wait, what's my next step? And what do I want? Because I could have, you know, I say, am I going to just do the first thing that comes because I'm coming from a place of fear? Or am I going to stop and be like, what's really fulfilling to me? So I think for me, my vision, and I look at vision in tiny little steps. Like you could have almost like it's like your goals, right? You have the vision of where you want to go and then how you're going to get there. So I think that's what drives me. I think my vision of where I want to be one day, where I am, where I'm going is what drives me to keep going, because there's days that I don't want to keep going. You know, there's days I'm tired. There's days I'm overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. There's days I do feel isolated teaching. I'm teaching all my classes from right here. That's my yoga studio. So my vision and where I want to be is what is like, okay, let's regroup here and let's remember why I'm doing this.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to have this higher level that keeps the emotions, because we will experience all of those ups and downs in our emotions. You know, I'm really excited today. I can get it all done all today. And I'm really low in energy today. I don't want to do anything, see anybody, talk to anybody. You know, I'm really excited. I'm really struggling. Like we will experience all of those. But when the vision isn't clear, then the vision is subject to the emotional roller coaster, as opposed to our emotions being subject to the vision. Because then that calls us out and says, okay, well, we're going to have a 5-minute pity party and then we're going to get back to it.
Yeah.
Or we're going to rest today because we know we need that. But the rest isn't a setback. The rest is actually a part of getting us towards the goal, the end goal.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's so true. True. And if you, in all of this growing and, experiencing these different angles and perspectives of life, and we talked even earlier about that importance of voice, and learning to even hear our own voices and respect our own voice and give place to our own voice. Has there ever been a time where you felt as though your voice was being diminished or silenced?
I mean, like, when has, ask any woman that. When I read this question, it was so loaded, and so many different scenarios came, because I think just historically as women, we've been silenced for so long. So I was like, how do I bring this into like my experience individually? So for me, I would say I grew up with a single mom. My dad was, they were divorced. My dad had mental illness, but he was also very abusive, which sometimes you're like, what part of is it blending together, So a lot of what I would hear from my family was, oh, you have to understand him because, he's sick. So while I completely understand, and of course, I think my father was part of the reason I got into social work, was to help people and to understand that part of it. But I had to kind of diminish my own voice, and I had to kind of diminish what I was experiencing as a child, as a teenager, even now. I've had to kind of shut my voice down because I have to understand someone else's voice. So that is something I've been doing a lot of work on healing. And that's when we were talking earlier, when I read these questions and you had offered for me to be a part of this, I kind of was like, maybe I don't want to talk about this because that's a big question. Yes. And my answer was it's a heavy answer. So I was like, do I want to speak about this? Like, maybe I shouldn't. Is it that? All these things. But my truth doesn't take away from my father's truth.
Yeah.
My truth doesn't make him less invaluable, and vice versa. Right? I have to take, like, for me, it was always, I'm like a people pleaser, like I always want to help people. I will always for everybody else. But then when it comes to me, it's like, there comes that little voice of self-judgment and no, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't feel this way. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. I'm working on becoming a lot more vocal on how I feel and not having to need, not for validation, just to speak my truth. And I think that has really helped me to move forward in my healing.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't that something though, that in order to feel as though we're respecting someone else's voice, that we quiet ours, and like you're saying, this is conditioned into us, right? This is the other generation saying, okay, well, if you say that, then you're taking away from other people being able to understand, the other person in the situation. But that's not necessarily true. In fact, your story adds color and dimension, to the experience, and more people can now even understand him better through you sharing your story, and it then takes away the competition, if you will, between multiple stories around one circumstance.
Yes. Yeah. So that's so true. And that's exactly, it's interesting you say that, because it is like, I always say, with our traumas, like for me personally, with that trauma of my father, I have my story, I have my mother's story, and I have my father's story. But it's the same. If you ask us, everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
And I had to move forward from saying that's okay, because everybody's perception and everybody's experience is different, and not one is more valuable, or not one is right and one is wrong. It's just how it is, because we're all unique in what we experience. So
yes. And that's the importance of dialogue, because what power can come out of all of these stories around the same circumstance being shared and validated and accepted and, cherished. Because when we are in a place where you said, we're sharing our story, not looking for the validation, but when it is available to us, aren't we freer then
Yes.
in being able to share our stories? You know, we're all here talking through this COVID situation, you know, and it's affecting us differently, financially, mentally, you know, all of these different dimensions of how the pandemic and the ensuing lockdown, how that would have affected us. And we're all sharing these stories through the process,
Yeah.
you know. And one day, 10 years from now, we'll look back and be like, oh yeah, y'all remember when?
And maybe we'll say, actually, it wasn't so bad. We thought it was horrible at the time, and maybe it wasn't so bad.
Exactly. And that's where we need to be able to come together, even while the trauma is still present. You know, I think sometimes we want to overcome it. You know, we want to be at the point where, you know, everything is perfect. You know, we want to be at the point where we could talk about it in past tense. But sometimes the rawness of sharing that story when it is really meaningful to us right now, that's where others can tap into that power, you know. And so I want to congratulate you for having gone through that thought process and making the decision, I'm going to do it, you know.
And it took a lot of work. And that's my next following statement to this is it takes bravery, you know, to be vulnerable. Like for a long time, for me, sharing my story was like, no, I'm afraid I'm going to be judged by it. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But it's like you're saying, sharing connects us and brings us together in our healing. That's how my experience has been. I've never heard someone share and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're sharing that. You know, it's like, wow. Yeah. And we're connected, and it makes us feel like, okay, everybody's going through something. And we can all grow together, and we can all heal together. It's powerful.
Yes, exactly. And it really cuts the loneliness. You know, you could be surrounded by people and still experience loneliness because you feel as though the experience is unique to yourself. And like we said, the perspective is unique to us, but the experience is shared.
Yeah.
You know, and so it is important then to be able to let other people know, hey sister, you know, I'm dealing with this too, you know, or I dealt with it and that's how I dealt with that one, but I'm dealing with something else, you know. And this understanding that the yin and yang are there constantly in flow with each other, and that we need to be able to move in that flow, not only individually but in community, you know. So crucial. Yes. Now that you're giving yourself more permission to open up and to share and to even be able to recognize your own voice. And I love the fact that we both speak other languages, because one of the things that I tell parents when kids are learning a new language, I'm like, you don't have to speak it. Like literally give them a YouTube video in the other language. Yeah. You know, they're like 2 years old and they're just hearing it in their ears all the time. And then one day they're going to speak and they're going to hear it with their inner ear, which makes a difference from what you hear outside, you know? And then they start building this familiarity. So it's like, now you're speaking it and your inner ear is hearing it, you know? In a very different, powerful way, as opposed to being told back to you, you know? So now with all of this, now you have the opportunity to lay out your story. You know, this is Rocio's story. This is her path. This is what she's done, what she's been through, how she's flourished and grown and bloomed through it. And you can express that in any which way, you know, actually speaking it, writing it down, journaling it, painting it, whichever which way. The idea of taking that control, controlling that narrative, deciding on the version of your story that will be told. How does that make you feel?
Empowered. Empowered. I think that is the first word that comes, is like, I can take back the power that I gave away. Yes. Empowerment. And then from that empowerment comes freedom. Because I think, and this is the value of sharing as well, when you put it out, and now it's out there. So now you're not, for me, like, I think when you hold on to something that's bothering you or something you're afraid of or something that's hurt you, and you don't share it, it's kind of like you're keeping it inside. You're keeping all that energy inside your body. And when you speak your truth, you're almost like physically releasing an energy, and it's no longer part of something you have to hold on to. It's kind of like, okay, I can sit with this. Yes. I can sit with you. I can see you. I can see that you're there, but I'm not going to give you this power of like, now this happened to me when I was little, and now I'm holding on to it until, you know, into my 30s.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I think empowerment and telling my story, and again, for me, it was for a long time wanting validation from my parents to be like, oh yeah, this happened. And it really doesn't matter, because now for me, just validating myself, really what I needed was my own validation, and to speak my truth and say, this is the story that I experienced, and that is okay, that maybe my story is different than someone else's, or, you know, for my mother's and my father's. And yeah, I think that the sharing releases the power that I've given to my trauma.
Yes. I love that idea of empowerment in terms of reclaiming the power we gave away. I really love that point that you made there, because the idea of empowerment seems to take this perspective that the power comes from somewhere else. Right? So if we're empowered, somebody else is giving us power, right?
Yeah.
But the ability for us to say, wait, hold on a minute, I have given away my power. And I thought that this was the best way for me to cope throughout this situation. Or maybe I was too young to even know that there was an alternative way to cope. And so this was the only thing in my toolkit to protect myself, to go into the shell, you know, to create the cocoon and whatnot. And so now we are able to say, hold on a minute, that power was mine from the beginning anyhow.
Yeah.
You know, and I can take it back. I think that really resonates with me, because I definitely cocooned. You know, I was like, okay, everybody leave me alone. Right? I'm not, you know, I'm just not dealing with it because it's too heavy. You know, it's too much. And it's one of those situations where people are like, oh, how are you doing? How do you respond to a question as simple as how are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
Do you lie and be like, oh, I'm great? Or do you unravel every time somebody just asks you how you're doing? And so when it's that heavy, it is a natural response for some of us to just completely block off everybody else and isolate. And when we can then tap back into that idea, oh, wait a minute, cocooning myself off was me giving, like you said, power to the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah,
it was me giving power to the traumatizer as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've really shifted my thinking in terms of, like before it was my power was taken away. Again, to the external, something external took my power. But then when I took back and said, okay, wait a minute, nobody took it away. I gave it away.
Yeah.
I was giving it away. And then that empowered me to say, if I gave it away, I could take it back. I'm not waiting, because for a long time I was waiting, like you're saying, I was waiting on somebody else to give me my power. I was waiting on somebody else to give me my voice. But the second I shifted that into saying, yeah, something horrible happened out of my control, of course. But then now, as a grown woman, now I'm not that little child that is going through these things. So now I can say, okay, now what? Because now I can take back that power. It wasn't something. So just shifting that and taking responsibility for my healing.
Yes.
Because if I didn't say, okay, what am I going to do about this? I would have kept waiting for somebody else. But that's also kind of like saying, okay, well, you know what? I had this trauma. I don't want to deal with it. The world, you know, did me wrong. And who's going to fix this for me? Because I don't want to. But the second I was like, okay, I have to. If I want to move forward, if I want to heal, if I want to do something, you were talking about your daughter, if I one day have children and want to do it differently, then that's on me now.
Yeah.
Or else I'm just going to be pushing through this trauma straight through to my kids, right? But it's not easy to take that responsibility sometimes and say, okay, now it's up to me. This happened, you know, something someone hurt me, but now it's up to me to fix this.
And
that's
I
empowerment.
really, it is. I really want us to hear this, because it is very difficult while we are going through it to understand that we have a layer of responsibility in it. It is very difficult, because in all honesty, we can just sit in the blame of somebody else's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Other people made decisions that hurt us. That is true. Other people took actions that caused us pain. That is true. But that's not the only truth that exists. There's the other truth that, okay, wait a minute, I made a decision that allowed this behavior to be accepted, right? There were previous decisions that I made. There were previous actions that I took. This is where I contributed. So no, I don't have control over the entire situation, but I can learn from where I contributed to the circumstance that created my own pain. Or maybe I had no contribution at all. I was a child. What was I going to do? I was just living. But here I am now. Now I can look back and I can analyze the situation for what it's worth. I can look back and I can say, okay, this isn't just about, something that happened. This was something that impacted me. And I made decisions afterwards because of the impact that this thing had on my life. So now I get to make more decisions now that I'm informed. And if we run away from that process, and let me tell you something, man, it is hard to look deep into ourselves and actually forego the really good excuses that we've been given by life. Right? And to decide, okay, I have this really good excuse, but I'm not going to use it. I'm actually going to take responsibility for myself here. It's a hard thing to hear, but that is where the growth happens.
Yeah, and that's where the empowerment, like we resist that responsibility because we've given our power away, right? Yes. But taking ownership is now like, okay, I can take control of this situation now, because for so long I didn't have control. So it's like, no, I'm going to take this back. I'm going to say now I'm going to make decisions and I'm going to do things the way that I want to do them, regardless of all these things that happened. So once it's like, it really is a mind shift. Like it's a mindset thing. Personally, that's what it was for me, is just shifting the perspective. And I think that was the biggest thing, is my power shifting from my power was taken away to I'm now giving it away. Because yes, maybe it was taken away when I was a little girl, but now I'm just giving it away. So now I'm going to take it back. Now I'm taking it back, and now it's mine. Now I'm deciding what's going on here. And that's beautiful. That's power. That's growth. So
yes. And it reminds me of something you said at the beginning in terms of COVID giving the opportunity to take a pause. Because when we are in the activity and the doing and all of the things that are required for us to make ends meet or live our fabulous lives or whatever it is that we were about, we don't always get a chance to stop and soak in the reality of life in the silence. We don't always get a chance to reflect. And, I usually encourage young people, if you're going to pursue your studies and you can, if the opportunity is available to you, go live on campus. Because university will give you a chance that you will probably never get again in your adult life to stop and think. Just before real responsibility hits you, and you're grown enough to analyze your life, but you're not so grown that you have the fullness of rent and bills and everything on your shoulders. You're just in that middle space. Take it, and that's what COVID was for us. COVID was like going back to college, right? Getting that chance to pause a minute and say, okay, this is what was going on. These are the decisions I now can make. So I really hope that as many of us are listening to this, if we haven't really taken the opportunity that life has now given to us, it's weird to frame COVID in terms of opportunity. But if we could take the opportunity that's been presented to us to pause for a minute and to do some of these things that Rocio is talking about in terms of being able to look over our lives and track, where were we giving our power away? Where do I get to make a new decision about my voice and my story, and how I live it out? And then you said that this is freedom, which brings me to my next question. What is the imagery that comes to your mind? Paint a picture for us. What comes to your mind when you hear the word victory?
So this was another question. When I read it, I was like, wow, so many things. For me, COVID was another point where I was like so connected to my community, and we've been made aware, all the things that have happened in 2020, 2019, 2021, of the injustice in the world and the inequality in the world. So for me, victory really on a micro level, for me personally, it's these little things. But I think for me, what victory really, when I hear the word, is to me is that we're living in a world where we are equals, where everyone has food to eat, where just abundance for the world. Really, that's what victory. And I that might sound cheesy, but it just, the awareness of all the things that have been coming up in this last year, it's that we all need to come together, and that we're all in this together, really. Like, if COVID has shown us anything, it's that we're in this together. So when we all have access to healthcare, when single mothers, let's bring it to our country, when single mothers can have access to affordable childcare, when women and men are equal in the workplace. Like, there's so many things. And I think the times are telling that we are moving forward. And I think a lot of truth is coming up. And sometimes it's feeling like the world is going, falling apart a little bit. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we had all these like things boiling up in the underbelly of our society. And now it's like everything's coming to light. Yes, so as much as we feel like, oh no, it's a scary time, it's scary times, but I think it's good. I think these truths have to come out. I think we have to be having it in our face and being like, okay, like something has to change. We can't keep going on how we're going on. So I think just the growth of humanity, the coming together of races, of genders, of cultures, and just realizing really we live in this world and we're all in this together.
Yeah, and I know it's not cheesy, because we are all visionary women with these big perspectives, these big dreams, and these big goals that include so many other people beside ourselves, And you're right. Our victory in our internal work has to manifest in the way how we go about dealing with our community. So after we have dealt with this whole process of vision, voice, version, and victory, or even throughout the process, there's a requirement for us to then become aware of somebody else's journey through that process, you know? And so even if now we're hearing about another experience that wasn't our own lived experience, that should now bring us to a place of empathy. Because now I'm recognizing, well, I don't only empathize now with people who went through exactly what I went through. Now I can extend that, because I can see the same process happening in this person's life. This person looks differently from me, sounds different, lives in a different way. All of these things might seem different, but at the core, we're going through this identical process. And now I have not just the ability and the choice, and not just this sense of duty, but this longing, this desire, this wanting to support someone else through that process, and that looks different in different ways. Like, for example, we have partnered with us, the Beautiful Foundation. And this is an organization that started off picking up ladies from the homeless shelter and taking them to get, hair and makeup in a limousine, and just having a nice day, and just kind of bringing some lights, into their moment. And then they started realizing, oh, there's so much more. we can go deeper. We can go deeper here in this relationship. And so now others can come alongside and they can volunteer. They can donate, they can partner. They can assist in so many different ways. There are always ways then that once we have this internal connection, this heart and this desire to then pour back in, that is it's like the evolution of the process. If we do all of this work and then we just sit all pretty, walking with our victory, then, congratulations to us for having done it, but we're not there yet, So I agree with you that, the extension of this to our wider community, again, even in communities where it's not necessarily our own lived experience, but really reaching out, really beginning to allow our hearts to open up to another person's story and experience and circumstance, and then being able to say, okay, you know what? I got you. Right? I understand here. There is something that I can do, and I desire to do it. I desire to participate here. So even if we haven't dealt with substance abuse ourselves, even if we haven't had a family member and we haven't seen them struggle through substance abuse, we can still be able to say, man, I could imagine how hard it must be as a woman. You're already dealing with all of these issues that come with being a woman, and then you have this internal fight as well. I could just imagine how difficult that could be. What can I do to help? Yes, I can make a donation. I can reach out to an organization like the Beautiful Foundation. I can find out, how can I help you guys? What's next? You're pivoting through COVID? What resources are you in need of? Okay, I have this available. I have that available. And now we're creating these connections,
Yes.
And we're saying, look, yes, I can, and I will, and I want to, and I'm here, and that's what it's all about, that extension, Yeah.
It is. It really is. And you said it, empathy is so important. I think when we come from a place of empathy instead of judgment, like we might be sometimes judging people on things they're going through instead of trying to understand them. And I think the more we do that is what we nurture. That is what we're going to bring more of. We can focus on all the bad things. There's plenty of things of the bad things to focus on, but I think we need to be putting our energy into all of the beautiful good things and nurture that to grow in our community.
Exactly. 100%. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Rocio, for sitting down with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations to you for just this part of your journey, and being willing to come and do this. We did this kind of before, but that was in your element, right? You were doing yoga, that thing, right?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
But this one was
more challenging.
Yeah. Yes. And I really appreciate you, accepting the challenge and stepping into, who different levels of who you choose to be, and I'm really honored that you also chose to do that with us. I really thank you for allowing us into your space and sharing with us, because somebody heard you today and probably never thought that she could open up her mouth and tell her story. One of our sisters heard you today, and she heard you in a way that somebody else may not have heard, so thank you for that. Now, if you want to go deeper with us, you want to be a part of more of these conversations, sisters, I'm going to make sure that you can get in touch with Rocio and see what she has going on as she's building her tribe and her yoga practice. Now, you don't only do yoga, you do something else that's very cool. Tell people about the pole dancing.
I'm a pole dancer. I was teaching before COVID, but I don't have a pole. That was another thing. I was like, I have to teach here. And I used to have a pole at home, but then I took it down because I was like, it's too many things happening in one space. But yeah, I pole dance. I've been pole dancing, I think, since I want to say maybe 2017, around the same time I got my teacher training. And that really also was something that shifted my relationship with my body, and just the way that I feel in my body. So such an empowering thing that I started doing. So I love it. I love it. I miss it. Our studios are closed, so I'm not able to pole dance too much. I get out there when I can, but yeah, it made me strong. Like, it gave me these arms. I was looking at pictures the other day, and I'm like, my arms were so skinny before. Now I have like bodybuilding arms. But yeah, yes. Hopefully one day we'll be back in the studio, and you guys can come over to the studio and dance a little bit.
Oh man, so looking forward to that. That is for sure. Definitely looking forward to that.
Oh, you're free.
And oh, wait, hold on. I hope everyone can see us still. Give us send us a comment. Yeah,
I hear you.
Good. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're really hoping that as things open up some more, we'll get a chance to connect with one another, in personal, physical space, but we'll also, because our world has expanded, we'll keep everything with the virtual element, because now we got to make sure our sisters around the world can participate in anything that we're doing. One such virtual event we have coming up in April, it's called Hey Sister, Let's Color. And we had a really good time with this event. We did it once in January, and now we're bringing it back by public demand, if you will. People had a really good time in the first Hey Sister Let's Color event. And as Karen was saying yesterday, she was like, grown women sitting down coloring. She's like, what is this, Nadia? And then she did the event, and it was just so powerful to be able to take a moment and still engage, so it's like this dual ability to calm yourself but still have really meaningful conversation. And I mean, it was heavy at moments, it was giggling at moments, we went through it all together, and it was such a good time, such a fantastic time. So if you want to go deeper with us, check the link and make sure that you get your ticket to come be a part of Hey Sister Let's Color. Again, everything we do this year, 10% is going to the Beautiful Foundation. You can also make a direct donation on the Eventbrite page. You can just donate to them if you want to. There are also some me gifts in there, ladies, because we're encouraging you to treat yourselves. So if you want a copy of the coloring book or any of the other cool items that we have in there, these items have been curated by Divine Executive Concierge Incorporated. So make sure that you get your me gift, and we're going to really hang out, and, you're going to let our hair down if our hair comes down, us melanated ladies, we're going to wrap our hair up because that's how we relax. And we're just going to have a ball, just have a good time. And we also have our masterminds beginning in April. That's 5 masterminds every month for our members. And it's 5 different mastermind facilitators. So again, we are all about bringing you that diversity of thought, diversity of perspective. We are looking at these themes, vision, voice, version, and victory, from as many different lenses as we possibly can. So tap into that sharing of knowledge, but also tap into the hot seat coaching. Tap into the Q&As, tap into the small group masterminds, tap into the community, tap into the networking, the collaboration. It's all happening here with people like you who totally get that, your vision is huge and massive and that you're passionate.
I gotta snap my fingers to that.
Absolutely, yes. It's all happening here, girls. So, Rocio, any words of wisdom for us before we jump off?
Words of wisdom. Just go. I think surrender. If anything I've learned this year is surrender to the moment. I'm going to give a yogi moment right now. Surrender to where you are and allow yourself to be exactly where you are. And when we release the resistance of something, we release the power of it, and we can just be present. So I think being surrendering into the moment, every moment.
Yes, that is really powerful, especially for for visionary women, we live in the future. So that's actually a big challenge for us, is to surrender to the moment of now. Was Eckhart Tolle, the power of now? You know, it's very difficult for us. So it's an encouragement and it's a challenge for us as well. So surrender to the moment. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Rocio. Well,
and
to
Nadia, I just want to say thank you. I just wanted to thank you for holding space. Thank you for holding space and doing this. I think it's beautiful that you're creating this platform that's giving us our voice and allowing us to share our stories with all these other beautiful women listening. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And for everyone who's joined us, thank you so much. If you're catching us on the replay, remember to hashtag replay and let us know what resonates with you, and connect with us, connect with Rocio, connect with everything we have going on, because we are here to go deeper. You know, we're here for that meaningful connection. We're here for realness. We're here for real growth. All right. So, again, thanks for coming on. We'll see you back here every day in March at noon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, sister, sitting store, what am I about to preach on? Damn, sister, close the door. Watch what you step out on. I said, hey, sister, so before you become a sin, I said, hey, sister, there is more, even if you think there isn't. When you live your life day to day, there will always be obstacles in your way.